Okay, this is 1775 by Academy Games, so this is number 2 in the series of the Revolution, American Revolution. So this is the setup for the campaign game. And so this is got a few differences from the 1812 game. First off, there's only 4 players, but the Americans have a ally French, and the British side has the Hessians, but then the natives are part of this change. Is that there's only 4 players, so the native player in 1812 is gone, and the natives are kind of neutral. They don't do anything until one side moves a unit into there, and then they control the natives and can use them in battle, except when each side that starts a battle and they have the native cubes in their side, so both sides go down to pull off until either 0 or 1 is left over from one side or the other. The 2 sides here is the British regulars and the British loyalists, who in the 1812 would be the Canadian militia. Then you have the American Continental Army and the American Patriot Army. And for reinforcements, this is another change to the 1812 one, because the 1812 one, you had fixed reinforcement areas, where this one you get reinforcements and you control one of the colonies. So the British have Delaware, the Americans have Connecticut and Rhode Island, the British have Nova Scotia and Quebec. And then you have to fight over the other colonies to get your reinforcements in those areas if you need it. But also, if you lose all, don't control any colony, you don't get any reinforcements. So it's kind of a bit of a cascading effect for that. The French and Hessian players' reinforcements come in by card, and they are quite good. Yeah, the Hessians run away on one side of the die, and the French don't run away. Yeah, the French have 3 hits like the British regulars. So those are the best units in this. Alright, so we'll get this started for turn 1. So this is the status at the end of the first round. Just a quick overview of that. So the Continental Army played their truce to get that out. The American taken basically 3 colonies here, but the British have Nova Scotia and they took Maine, and they have Quebec, so 3 and 3, so they're tied. Oh, 4. British have 4 because they have Delaware. Activity here was basically guys from Nova Scotia moved into here, took Maine, people moved down in here. The Americans kind of consolidating here, trying to take some of the natives here and there. So the British player is kind of very strong up here, so they're kind of going with a push down here from the north, but it's like that's where the Americans getting all their reinforcements. But they do have, oh, forgot my battle here. It's easy enough to do. Basically, they got enough force down here to really kind of slowly take over the southern part. We'll see if the British can maneuver down by sea or just slowly push down and take the colonies as one front. We shall see if that works. So this is the end of round 2. The Continental Army was able to take Massachusetts. The British were able to take New Hampshire. And then they were also able to take New Jersey. Hessians came in here with the help of the Loyalists to take over New Jersey. But the French down here came in at Savannah and helped take Georgia. So we're now at 1, 2, 3, 4 for the Americans, and the British have 2, 3, 4, 5. Yeah, so 6 to the Americans, 4. So the Allies, the British are on par to win because now it's going to be round 3, and with the Treaty of Paris, it can be ended at any moment once your side has both sides. But the Continental Army has his out, so we shall see. On to turn 3. So this is the end of round 4. Kind of New York, New England area is kind of stable, but the British actually took over Pennsylvania and Maryland using seaborne invasions. The Americans tried to take Virginia, but these guys snuck out here, and they tried to take North Carolina, but he snuck out of the battle to prevent taking over those 2 colonies. But they did take South Carolina. So the British players are up, but they have not, either one haven't played their treaty card. The American player, Patriot Militia, does not want to play theirs until they're up, because if it does, the game ends and they lose. And on the difference between 1812 and this one, on reinforcements also, they have to be placed on a city area. And it's standard 4 guys for each side when they get reinforcements, whereas 1812 each area had a variety of reinforcements came in and where they were placed for the native player. And so the British are ahead, and onward to round 5. So this is the end of round 5. Brits have but removed the Americans' control of Massachusetts. There's big fights over here. New York, a lot of the attacks by the British pretty much failed. Except here, some of the Americans' attacks also failed in Virginia. So kind of stalemated, lost units here, but also nobody's played their treaties yet except the Continental Army, so the game is going on, whereas the other one was 1812, ended pretty quickly. This one's going the distance. So this is the end of round 6. The Americans took Massachusetts back, they took New York, but also they did a sea invasion, and they took Nova Scotia, well, Halifax, and knocked out Nova Scotia for, so it's not controlled. So the British are down to, let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 colonies, and the Americans have 2, 5. So British are still winning, but only the Continental Army has got their truce card out, and in the Americans, they have the Patriots have it in their hand, but the British do not. So they are going to have to go all the way, basically, to turn 8 if they want to win, because I think the next draw of round 7 will get them their truce cards. So the Americans, they have to fight a lot to knock down the British and get their truce card out before the British do. So it's going to be down to the wire on this one, compared to 1812, which ended pretty quickly. So this is the end of round 7. The Americans prevented British from taking Nova Scotia, a couple fights along in New Hampshire and in New York, but forces were basically static there, kind of getting surrounded there. A lot of areas get lost or taken by command, and they just slip through into empty areas. It's creating a lot of annoyance for both sides. Virginia is still being held out because it's kind of off on that side. Americans are trying to take over North Carolina, but we're down to 5 colonies for the Americans and 6 for the British. And next turn, we'll see who sets off the truce. And because it's going to end at the end of the turn, whether they play them or not. And it seems that looking at the hands right now, only the Loyalists have a truce. The regulars, that last card is it. So it's up to the Americans if they play it, but being the last round, it's going to end anyways. So go for possibly either the better movement or the more armies to move. And we'll see what the last round does. So this is the end of the game. That was the turn order for the game, round. Americans lost by 1 colony. They tried to take New Hampshire. Everybody from Massachusetts moved in there. They had 2 Continental armies moved over to that guy and lost. able to force the British to lose Pennsylvania, but also the British were able to retake Nova Scotia. And over here, pretty much they were able to keep Maryland, Delaware, and New Jersey. And with the Continental Army having the last move, it was just an all-out rush with the final movement of 4 guys to move to an extra, just 1 away. So everybody rushed to see if they could do it, and they didn't. If they took New Hampshire, it would have tied. So this one's went to the very bitter end compared to 1812. This one's a bit more fluid because of you have to pretty much guard the coasts because everybody can be moving around on the water, getting behind your rear, and if the cards' movements don't match very well, which basically happened out here in the west, is you don't have guys to move out there to take the ally to the Native Americans in that far back corner. You're not going to get North Carolina and Virginia. That one too. And if there's more pressing issues, like around here in New England, you have to use the cards where you can use them. So it's a little more fluid, gotta leave guys behind compared to the 1812 one. And we will move on to the next one, which is 1754. The French and Indian War. We'll see the changes and how it differs from this one and 1812.